So let's look at this first gel. We have the SIS Beta Fuel. One of the key things about this product is it's 40 grams of carbohydrate. So it means it's going to make it a little bit easier to get in large quantities of carbohydrate if that is your goal. In terms of its price point, I was able to get 6 gels off Amazon for £11.11, which makes it about £1.85 per gel. To help explain the sweetness, I've got my lovely sweetness over time graph. So this product, the Beta Fuel that we're looking at here, builds fairly quickly. Gets to that sort of roughly 7 out of 10, I would say, on a max sweetness scale compared to the others. And then it actually doesn't die off all that quickly. It kind of stays with you. And I think that's because of the stickiness. It just lingers in your mouth, so the sweetness stays with you. So this one is our SIS Beta Fuel. Now, in terms of my 5-star rating for this product, I'm only going to give it 1.5 stars. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the OTE. I've got the naturally flavored cherry super gel. I think it's probably called super gel because it contains 40 grams of carbohydrate, which is, relatively speaking, quite a large serving size. Let's look at the price. So I got a pack of 12. This cost me £25.38, which makes these out to be £2.11 per gel. So I've given this £3 signs in my pricing system. So the OTE gel here, I would say instead of it being a 7 with the Beta Fuel, this one is much more like a 4 in terms of its peak sweetness. So it comes here and then it kind of crests and dies off fairly quickly. Much more mellow, a little bit easier on the sweetness there. This one is our OTE. So on my 5-star rating for this product, I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. It's a very good all-rounder. So in this third video, we are looking at the Protein Rebel Maple Ignite Gel. Now this has 24 grams of carbohydrate per serving, and I bought this off Amazon. I got 8 of these for £16.99. So per gel, it is about £2.12, which puts it in my pricing scheme as £3 signs, so moderately expensive there. Our Maple Ignite, this is very sweet. So I've given it a 10 out of 10 on our sweetness scale, and actually it hits it almost immediately. That's one of the key things. It comes up, you get this immediate sweet, and then actually it dies off pretty quickly, and you just end up with this background maple syrup taste. So it's short, sharp, and very, very punchy. So my 5-star rating for this product, I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. I really do rate this product. I've liked the clean label element of it. In this 4th episode, we're looking at the Precision Fuel and Hydration 30 gram of carb gel. This is our first unflavored gel. So this is one of our more expensive gels. It's still a £3 sign because it's in that bracket between £2 and £2.50. I managed to get 15 of these gels off Amazon. It was $34.99. So a little bit punchy there on the pricing. The P30, the Precision Fuel and Hydration 30, in terms of its max sweetness, I think it only really gets to about a 3, and it doesn't get you there very quickly. It takes a while to build. So actually it's more like peaking over here. So it comes, peaks, and then sort of dies off like this. So our Precision Fuel and Hydration 30 gram gel, I'm giving this gel a 4.5 out of 5 on my 5-star rating. I think it's a fantastic product. In this 5th video, we're looking at the TORQ Apple Crumble Gel. I managed to get 15 of these off Amazon for $24.61, I think. And in terms of its price per gel, it puts it, you know, relatively cheap. It's £2 signs at £1.64 per gel. So the sweetness profile of this TORQ gel, I think it reaches about a 6 out of 10, and it comes really quickly. So much like the SIS Beta Fuel, it comes fairly quickly, but it doesn't quite reach that same peakness. So I would say it follows this line of the SIS, comes quickly, but then crests, and actually it doesn't linger like the SIS one. So it comes and then drops off. So this here is our TORQ product. In terms of my 5-star rating, I'm giving this one a 4. It's a good all-rounder. It's giving you a fair amount of carbohydrate. Aqua is quite a reasonable price. In this 6th video, we are looking at the Maurten gel. 25 grams of carbohydrate in here. So this is on the lower end of the amount of carbs we've had so far. I managed to get 12 of these off Amazon for £33.25. So each gel costs £2.77. Okay, so the Maurten sweetness profile. Now, I would compare this to the Precision Fuel and Hydration. It's about a 3 out of 10. So I've given the Precision Fuel and Hydration a 3, and it's a very similar flavor profile, to be fair, and I think that's partly down to the sort of gooey texture. So I'm going to follow the line here, except it maybe builds a little bit faster than the Precision Fuel and Hydration, and then comes off and lingers about the same amount of time. So the Maurten gel, so on the NFE 5-star rating, I'm giving this a 4. The only downside of this is the price. In this 7th video, we are looking at the High 5 Aqua Gel. In terms of its price point, it's pretty low. I'm only giving this $1 sign because it's less than £1.50 per serve, coming in at £1.43. I managed to get 15 of these off Amazon for £21.49. Okay, so the flavour profile of this Aqua Gel. The sweetness profile wasn't really that great. I'm going to give it a max sweetness of a 5 out of 10. So it's around here. But actually, the sweetness doesn't come that quick. It kind of comes and then builds and builds and builds. So we get to that 5 and then it comes and kind of dies off fairly quickly. So I'm giving this gel a 4 out of 5. I think it's great value. In this 8th video, we are looking at the High 5 Energy Gel. This was the original before the Aqua one came out. There are 23 grams of carbohydrate in here, so again, right on the lower end compared to all the rest, but at a very good price point. So this is only £1 sign on my scale. I managed to pick up 20 of these off Amazon for $27.99, so each gel is £1.40 per serve. So this is the second High 5 gel. This is the non-aqua version, and I've given it sweetness, the same sweetness as the aqua one, and actually it follows a very similar profile. It comes up, hits that crest at 5, the only difference is, in my opinion, is that it stays a bit longer in your mouth. And that's probably because it's a little bit thicker. It's a little bit stickier than the Aqua. It doesn't leave, so it lingers much longer. So I'm giving this a 4 out of 5 on my star rating. I think it's value for money. Here we're going to be looking at the Healthspan Elite Passion Fruit Gel. Now, this gel has 25 grams of carbohydrate per serving. So I managed to pick up 24 of these for £40.49, which means per serving is £1.70. Healthspan Elite, the passion fruit, I'm giving this about a 6 out of 10 on its max sweetness, but it doesn't really hit you that soon. You actually kind of get like a weird sharpness that comes. The sweetness tends to come and peaks about here, but actually it's fairly mellow. It doesn't come and build. It kind of is something that looks like this, and then it comes and dies off. So I'm only scoring this a 3 out of 5, and you might be thinking why. You really enjoyed the flavour profile there, James. I actually do think this product is probably more of a 4 out of 5 for me, but the reason I'm scoring it down is because the other flavours, they don't match up to this. In this 10th video, we are looking at the Veloforte Tempo Gel. Now, this gel has 22 grams of carbohydrate in it. In terms of pricing, it's pretty expensive. So I bought 9 of these for £19.80, so it works out to be £2.20 per gel. So the Veloforte Tempo, the sweetness profile, now I would say it maxes out around an 8, so it's up here somewhere. It doesn't hit quite as quickly as the maple, but it's fairly close. So it kind of crests like this, and then it dies off fairly quickly too. So it comes and goes, very sweet compared to some of the others. I'm giving this a 3.5 out of 5 on the Nutrition for Energy 5-point scale. So the 11th gel we are looking at is the Striker Gel. This is the Gel 30 Plasma Tech, and it's the Nitro Plus. Now, I got a box of 12 and it cost me £24.99, so just over £2 per gel. So I would class it as my £3 signs, so moderately expensive there. So I'm gonna do the sweetness profile of the unflavoured one, because I think it'd be mean to do the flavoured one. The unflavoured one, the sweetness hits even quicker, so I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 on its max sweetness, and it comes pretty quickly, nowhere near as quick as the maple, not quite as quick as this one here, but it comes up, crests, and then instead of dying off, it really just lingers, it stays with you in your mouth. So much like the beta fuel, it lasts, it hangs around. So with the Striker gels, I'm giving these a 1 out of 5. So this is my lowest scoring yet. In this 12th video, we are looking at the Hilltop Honey Gel. So this one is another really petite gel. So I picked up 12 of these for $16.99. So per gel, it's only £1.40, which as some of these are ranging up to 2 and 2.5, that's actually relatively cheap. So I was expecting this to be a lot sweeter than it actually was. So I'm only giving it a max sweetness out of a 5 out of 10, peaking about here, and it rather came up and then sort of stayed. So fairly neutral curve, nice arc there, not crazy sweet, nice easy build into it. So I'm giving this product a 3 out of 5. The last gel, the 13th gel that we're looking at, is this Kendall Mint Cake, and I have the raspberry and mint to taste. We've got 27 grams of carbohydrate in here. In terms of pricing, it's fairly moderatively priced. I picked up 12 of these for £20 or $19.99. So each one of these is £1.66. So I've given this £2 signs on my pricing system. So the Kendall Mint Cake, raspberry and mint gel, I'm giving an 8. Kind of comes and builds and builds and builds and builds. And it kind of comes like this, and then it drops off quite quickly after. So it's quite a slow build, but it is very sweet. The Kendall Mint Cake, I'm giving a 2.5 out of my 5-point scale. The reason for that is I quite like the mint element. It's something that's quite unique and a little bit different. If you've enjoyed this content, then please, I would recommend subscribing to my channel. I put out a lot more sport nutrition content designed for runners and triathletes and those interested in sport.